Welcome back to Live at Noon. Well, the Scarborough-Agincourt federal by-election is taking place on Monday, December 11th, and we're beginning our candidacy profiles with NDP candidate Bryan Chang. He joins me now live. Nice to meet you, Bryan.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, listen, how is the campaign going for you in Scarborough-Agincourt? Because this is a serious by-election here. Everybody's keeping a close eye on this one.
It is. We're having tons of fun. The volunteers are having a great time, trying to stay as warm as possible, of course. It's a winter election after all, but we're having a great time up there.
Good. Okay, so listen, sad circumstances about the by-election. We know that it was due to the death of the former Liberal candidate, or the Liberal MP, that you had this opportunity to run for the for Scarborough-Agincourt. Tell us, why should they be going NDP this time around?
I think it's time for a new voice, new energy. We have a brand new leader in Jagmeet Singh, and new exciting things are happening. I worked for him. I was director of operations, and I was part of that team that signed up 50,000 new members for Jagmeet alone, right across the country. But we're looking at a strong NDP. We're looking at a strong caucus. We're looking at an amazing leader, and we're looking at amazing candidates who are coming out of the woodwork who are interested in running for this party.
And I see also that you worked for Olivia Chow and
yes,
in the mayoral race for Olivia. But you say that our communities are vibrant and dynamic, but also full of struggle. What do you mean by that?
So what we know is the average house price in Scarborough-Agincourt is $974,000. But average incomes are about $32,000. There's a huge disparity between that. Income inequality is a huge issue, and the NDP is paying attention to this. And what we know is that on a $32,000 income, you can't afford a $974,000 house. And it becomes a problem for people like me. I'm living at home with my mother, and that's the reality for me and my generation. A lot of people who are living in Toronto now. We're either renting or we have to live at home. Yeah,
there's a boomerang kid effect, right?
Yeah.
Where you go to school, maybe come back, you can't buy a home. It's very difficult. Yeah. So what specifically can the NDP do to help that?
Yeah. Well, the Liberals announced a national housing strategy, which we've been pushing for a very, very long time. But Sherry Benson also pushed forward a motion to ask for housing to be made a right, a fundamental right here in Canada, and that was rejected by the Liberals. They didn't even want to talk about it. But what's really important is that we have a national housing strategy, but one that realizes that it's a crisis if you live in Vancouver or Toronto. But the Liberals, none of that funding will kick in until 90% of it won't start until after 2019. And that does nothing to help people who are struggling right now.
The here and now. Okay, you're talking about a new generation of the NDP.
Yeah.
Tell us how you represent that.
Yeah, well, I'm a proud gay man. I live with a facial difference, so I have my crochet of my left here. And I think it's really important that we have people who are diverse, represent our communities, who live in the communities, and who are savvy and get it.
Now, listen, we are going to continue, of course, to follow this race quite closely. We'll be there on election night on Monday. Good luck to you, and we look forward to talking to you again after election night and see how this all works out. It's all the best.
TV's Natalie Johnson is in the riding tonight. Natalie.
Zoraida, we caught up with the candidates today who are out and about in the community, eager to make their names known to voters ahead of the by-election, all hoping to represent this riding in Ottawa.
Don't you just love this large sign?
Jean Yip's smile grows bigger with every Liberal support sign she sees.
I can count on your support, right?
The candidate for Scarborough-Agincourt on a mission to meet every voter ahead of next week's by-election.
We want to hit every household in Scarborough-Agincourt.
Yip is the widow of MP Arnold Chan, who died of cancer in September. She helped represent him while he was undergoing treatment and is now making the formal bid for his seat in Parliament.
Not only get to support his legacy, but also put forth my own initiatives such as support for seniors, mental health, youth opportunities, as well as housing and transit.
Thankful for the support she finds at the doorstep.
They all knew Arnold, and they always pass on their condolences, and they say how happy they are that I'm continuing on.
This riding has been a Liberal stronghold since it was created in 1988, but both the NDP and Conservative candidates are hoping to change that.
The Liberals, they've taken us for granted.
30-year-old Bryan Chang is the NDP's candidate.
So I know the area very well.
The Scarborough native worked on campaigns for Olivia Chow and Jagmeet Singh and wants politics to better represent his community.
I'm a proud gay man, and I'm also racialized, and you don't see a lot of candidates like me out there.
He cites the disparity between income and housing costs as one of the riding's biggest issues.
So we have a chance to choose a brand new voice to represent the areas.
There's a by-election December 11.
Meanwhile, Conservative candidate Dasong Zhu says Scarborough deserves more jobs, transit and development.
I know a lot of people are working really hard to make our ends meet and to feed the families and children.
Hi,
I'm Jean.
The three candidates are spending the week making their pitch to voters.
You guys are still going to vote Bryan Chang?
We're going to send a strong message to a Liberal government.
In just 5 days, voters will decide whether this stays a red riding. The by-election vote will happen on Monday. Reporting live, I'm Natalie
Several
Johnson.
federal
Zoraida,
by-elections are being held across the country, including right here in Toronto in a Liberal stronghold riding. CTV's Natalie Johnson is live in Scarborough with that. Natalie.
Hi, Andrea. This riding has been Liberal since it was first created about 3 decades ago, and many analysts believe it is a safe red seat, but not so fast, say the other candidates who say that voters are looking for a change and that it's time for an upset.
That's me right there.
Even before the sun was up, Jean Yip was greeting voters on their morning commute,
Remember to vote.
asking them to support her and vote Liberal in this by-election.
I think the issues are pensions, housing, transit, and many of the families like the Canada Child Benefit.
Yip is the widow of MP Arnold Chan, who died of cancer in September. She often represented him in the riding while he was ill.
I've been involved knocking on doors, meeting with the residents for the past 3 years, and attending community events. So I think I understand the concerns of the residents.
But NDP candidate Bryan Chang says Scarborough-Agincourt is ready for a change in what has been a Liberal stronghold.
They've had this riding since I was 1 year old, actually. So I think it's important that we have that we don't allow them to monopolize the discussion. That there's some really important discussions we need to have around precarious work, climate change, electoral reform, things that the Liberals aren't leading on.
Chang was casting his own ballot this morning, hoping to fight for some of the issues residents tell him are at the top of the list in this riding.
Things like precarious work, lack of access to transit. People are really unhappy with Liberal broken promises.
The Conservative candidate is Desong Zhu, who told CTV News last week voters want to send a message to the Trudeau Liberals about taxes and safe injection sites. The candidates are now relying on the people they've talked to make it out to the polling stations today.
I vote every year for everything, and I have since I've been eligible to vote.
I just want to make sure that we go to good, fair government.
It is now all in the hands of voters. And if you live in this riding and have not yet cast your ballot, there is still lots of time to do so left in this voting day. Polling stations are open until 9:30 p.m. Reporting live, I'm Natalie Johnson.